3 or 4 companies that are controlling the meat. We've never had food companies this big and this powerful in our history. Tyson, for example, is the biggest meatpacking company in the history of the world. The industry changed the entire way that chicken are raised. Birds are now raised and slaughtered in half the time they were 50 years ago, but now they're twice as big. People like to eat white meat, so they redesigned the chicken to have large breasts. They not only changed the chicken, they changed the farmer. Today, chicken farmers no longer control their birds. A company like Tyson owns the birds from the day they're dropped off until the day that they're slaughtered.
Let me go to the top.
Chicken factory farms are notoriously inaccessible to anyone outside of the industry, despite chicken being America's most popular meat.
So this is the first time that I have been invited by a contract farmer that is working for one of the biggest integrators in the country.
I'm Craig Watts. I'm a contract poultry producer with Purdue Farms.
Why were you open to letting me visit?
I'm open to anything because this stuff is not as advertised. There's a lot of flaws in the system. The consumers being hoodwinked, the farmers being jerked around.
Chicken from this Purdue farm is USDA process verified. The USDA calls this humanely raised, and consumers are paying for it.
Today, the consumer is much more interested in knowing how the chickens are raised, what they've been eating, before it gets to their table. And it's about trust and trusting the company. Doing the right thing is things like treating your chickens humanely.
First 3 or 4 days, you're going to have some inflated mortality. It's just how bad is it going to get? That's the $64,000 question. How bad is it going to get?
For each new flock, death is highest in the first and last week of the bird's life.
I can't speak for a chicken. All I can say is what I observe, and no, they're not happy. And they're definitely not healthy. When you get to that point right there, yeah, you're suffering. And it's just the acceptable losses. If they're not, kind of up and down and drinking and eating, they're not loving life, that's for sure.
Over the course of 6 weeks, in a house of 30,000 chickens, it's considered normal for more than 1,000 birds to die in every flock due to illness, genetic problems, or other issues, including injuries. Craig has no control over the health or genetics of the chicks that are delivered to him by Purdue. Bound by contract, Craig is not even allowed to give them sunshine or fresh air. Just 37 days later, they are a sea of panting birds. Panting indicates birds are overheated. These birds find it too painful to bear the weight of their unnaturally large breasts on their legs and spend the majority of their time squatting. Their heart and lungs are also physiologically taxed, overburdened by servicing their disproportionately large chests. There is nothing natural or humane about this scene. As a result of growing so big so quickly, these baby birds, only weeks old, spend much of their time sitting on the litter. Many suffer from lameness, limping, and other leg problems. The litter contains the feces of tens of thousands of birds, which they sit on nearly continuously toward the end of their lives. Litter is not changed between flocks, and sometimes not for years. Constant contact to the litter makes the underneath of the birds raw with little to no feathers.
If you get that natural sunlight, the bird's more active. They don't want that. They want him sitting down, getting up, taking a drink, a bite to eat, and sitting back down. He gets fat then.
They do not allow you to have this open anymore.
No.
That's in your contract. You have to keep them enclosed.
Craig and I realized we want the same thing. We want to reform the industry, and we're going to have to stand shoulder to shoulder to do that.
Well, I absolutely would do away with solid walls. I would give them back sunlight. Letting sunshine and fresh air in is, number one, the birds love it, and number two, it's better for me. I think it's almost going to have to be a start over. I think we're past the rewind button here. This is going too far.
This is the moment you arrive. Oh, you're missing the meaning and all that surrounds you when you're always saying, you're always saying, you're always saying goodbye.
Animals, there are certain animals that are permissible to eat. You cannot just be barbaric. The way you have treated the animal from the point of its birth to the point of its slaughter is extremely important. You need to be completely humane even with animals. You need to treat them, give them that life that they deserve, feed them properly, give them that air and the space. If you were to look at abattoirs that belong to non-Muslims, they are very barbarically run. To be honest with you, I've visited, I've seen, we are so shocked, nauseating. And people say, yeah, you guys are doing something that's very barbaric. Oh, come and see, we'll show you how it's done, come. So now when we get to the cow, for example, or the sheep that has been fed properly, and it has not been force-fed and kept in a pen like the ducks of the world and the chickens that don't even grow feathers anymore because they are modified. Their sole purpose of being given life is to grow until they are killed brutally in order to be served on the table. Not halal. We don't want that. It must be accorded its life. It must be treated as a proper chicken. It must be treated as an animal, a bird, whatever it is. It must be fed properly. And at the same time, you bring it to the pen. You slaughter it in a way that it does not witness the others. And at the same time, such a sharp blade. And why is it that the throat is used? Because of the central nervous system. Powerful statement. Sometimes people hack these animals to death. People say, you need to stun these animals. Did you know that there is research that proves that stunning an animal actually creates greater pain than if you don't stun the animal? People say, how? Go and check. You're confusing the animal totally. You're killing it unconscious. What are you talking about? Amazing. If you were to get cut with a blade as you're shaving, you won't even know that you're cut until water goes on it. Why? The razor was very sharp, very sharp. So we are to use a sharp blade, quick slice. When I burn my fingers, what happens? A message goes from the sensory nerves to my brain, central nervous system, that you know what, something has happened here. The brain comes back and the message goes through the bloodstream, central nervous system. It says, you are hurt, lift your hand up. And I do this. It happens within a split second. But if the central nervous system is ruptured from the jugulars, the pain, the message goes up, it gets stuck there because it cannot go up anymore. Blood system, bloodstream, out. So what happens? It numbs to a halt. There you are. That is halal. If you were to slice it, the message will not go from the bottom to the top, nor from the top to the bottom, because the jugulars are gone. Windpipe and food pipe. And you have to take the permission of the giver of that life when you are slaughtering it. If not, we don't want to eat that. You have stolen it from the property of God. Allahu Akbar. How can you just cut an animal? Who are you? Who are you to take that life away? You need to say, in the name of the giver of the life here, I'm taking this by your permission. Such a humane way, beautiful. That is termed halal. You are taking the life away. And this is the original system of the Jews and the Christians. It is the original system that was taught by all the messengers. Islam adopts it quite strictly, and so does Judaism. And I'd like to think Judaism adopts it even more strictly. Go and study, you will find it.
When I first heard about this next story, I thought it must be a joke. I mean, here it is Thanksgiving weekend. Nobody in their right mind would protest killing turkeys too humanely. The operative phrase is in their right mind. Allow me to introduce you to conservative columnist Pamela Geller. She's a darling of the right wing. She's a notorious hater of Muslims, and she just wrote a column complaining about Butterball. Here's the background. Butterball, as you may know, is one of the most popular producers of Thanksgiving turkeys in the United States. The company believes in making their product palatable to a variety of religious Americans. And to that end, Butterball recently confirmed its whole turkeys are certified halal. Halal is an Islamic term that refers to how animals are butchered, much like kosher butchering for Jewish people. Halal requires that an animal be killed in the most humane fashion possible by swiftly cutting the turkey's throat. According to Geller, this is a problem. Why should we be forced to conform to Islamic norms? It's Islamic supremacism on the march yet again. Yes, according to Pam Geller, it's Islamic supremacism. She went on to write, quote, non-Muslims in America and Europe don't deserve to have halal turkey forced upon them in this way, without their knowledge or consent. So this Thanksgiving, fight for your freedom. Find a non-halal, non-Butterball turkey to celebrate Thanksgiving this Thursday, and write to Butterball and request politely but firmly that they stop selling only halal turkeys and make a non-halal turkey available to Americans who still value our freedoms. Pam, we're talking about turkeys, and allow me to enlighten you and your readers. It's not just how a turkey is killed that is important for halal or kosher certification. The animal must not be diseased. If the turkey has tumors or cysts, it's not certified. The meat must not come in contact with contaminants, like worms, bugs, dirt, feces, bacteria, things that are also not allowed by federal meat inspectors. All the blood must be allowed to drain out before packaging. Pam, you wrote, I wouldn't knowingly buy a halal turkey, would you? Actually, I would. In fact, most Americans who eat turkey would probably be more likely to buy a halal or kosher one if they knew what it stood for. But I want to help you protect your Thanksgiving from the threat of clean, healthy, humanely butchered meat. So I encourage you to go to a turkey farm tomorrow, ask for the most diseased animal around, clobber it over the head with a dull hammer, but not too hard because you want the bird to suffer for a while. Drag the animal on the ground, smear it in feces, take the bird home, expose it to as much bacteria as possible, then serve it as your Thanksgiving meal. After all, as you wrote, who wants halal turkeys, especially on a day in which we are giving thanks to God for our freedom? Exercise your freedom, Pam. Go with diseased, dirty, infected turkey meat, and let us know how your family and guests enjoy the holiday at your house or whatever insane asylum these days you are calling home.
It is nasty in here. There's dust flying everywhere. There's feces everywhere. This isn't farming. This is just mass production, like an assembly line in a factory. When they grow from a chick, and in 7 weeks you've got a 5.5-pound chicken, their bones and their internal organs can't keep up with the rapid growth. A lot of these chickens here, they can take a few steps and then they plop down. It's because they can't keep up with all the weight that they're carrying. There's antibiotics that's put into the feed, and of course that passes through the chicken. The bacteria builds up a resistance, so antibiotics aren't working anymore. I have become allergic to all antibiotics and can't take them. When it's dark inside the houses, the chickens lay down. It's less resistance when they're being caught. Traditionally, it's been African-American men. Now we're seeing more and more Latino catchers, undocumented workers, and from their point of view, they don't have any rights, and they're just not going to complain. You know, the companies like these kind of workers. It doesn't matter if the chickens get sick, all of the chickens will go to the plant for processing. The companies keep the farmers under their thumb because of the debt that the farmers have. To build one poultry house is anywhere from $280,000 to $300,000 per house. And once you make your initial investment, the companies constantly come back with demands of upgrades for new equipment, and the grower has no choice. They have to do it, or you're threatened with loss of a contract. This is how they keep the farmers under control. It's how they keep them spending money, going to the bank and borrowing more money, and the debt just keeps building. To have no say in your business, it's degrading. It's like being a slave to the company.